welcome to another showcase breakdown here at my Palm Hills house. We're going to keep going on a new section, but first, just a little recap of what we've done in the past. We did that cool little front gate area, then we jumped into the carport, followed by the front door area with that walkway path, and then we went into building the swimming pool area, and that led into building the kitchen and the barbecue, which connected the two. Then we jumped over to the master bedroom, got that all nice, and put in a fire pit as well. And this episode, I wanted to jump into an area with a little more interesting, I guess, in the fire pit, and that's this lower garage area, which is more the secondary garage of the back entrance. And that also leads into a storage room and into the lower portion of the house. But it's mainly an area where you can park a couple more cars. And in this case, your fancy car, and then also a project car that is in the garage as well, and a little area to work and hang out. So that's what we're going to jump on this episode. So what do you say we get to it? Now, first off, originally I wasn't sure if I was going to even do a garage. It was all going to be one level, but then I noticed a nice little area underneath my pond area, or the whole river rock area with the water. And I couldn't go too far into the water because obviously the water goes all the way down to the ground. So once you went in, you'd be underwater. So we don't want a garage underwater, but in this case, it definitely gave me the opportunity to have this lower garage and also the whole basement area of the house, because I did have space down below. And as soon as I saw that space, I knew I wanted to build something down there. So that's what initially started the whole garage concept. As I started the garage, I do like using these Slocum's Joe ceiling pieces that have the built-in lights, because it works pretty well, one for lighting, but also I do like the tile look of it, and I think it would work great for the garage here. And it also saves a lot of time having to place in all these ceiling pieces. And most of the time, these ceiling panel things do snap together pretty easily. But I thought these would work perfect, and that's why I wanted to use these in the garage, is mainly the lighting and the look of it. And once again, to tie in with the rest of the construction of the house and, say the carport area that we built, so I wanted to use these white shelves that, while put together with some of the other ones, you can kind of create an interesting architectural look, almost like the breeze block feel to it. And I wanted to use that on either side of this garage just to tie in the whole house. Now, once I established the garage area, I knew what I wanted to do was use some of the giant pillars from the Nuka World walls. And these things are pretty large, and I thought they'd be perfect if I could tilt them 90 degrees, which is easier said than done when dealing with the whole quappa tilt, especially with these pillars, because once you tilt them, they need to be perfectly angled before you tilt it. It won't look right. And I kind of ran into that problem with these, so they may not be perfect, but I got them to a point where I think they worked. And I just liked them because it was such a solid top section of this garage, and also to hold up, say, the landscaping and the yard up above would make sense to have something really large and sturdy. And to give it even more of a sturdy look, I added in some of the boulders in connection with that giant pillar piece, and it just looks really sturdy and strong, so I like that for sure. Now, to tie in with some of the landscaping that I had already done towards the front of the house, this yard area going down to the garage was a little bit lower, so I had to deal with that, and I didn't really want to try and tilt all the grass. I think that would turn into a little bit of a nightmare. So what I decided to do is lower the sections, but then kind of combine the two areas of grass with these box shrubs that when you set them into the ground, you can kind of get a little bit of an angle, and you can lower down to, say, another level or so just by using rocks and foliage, which I've done quite a bit in my other builds, but it's a good way to lower your yard section or your grass or even your dirt just by using some of the rocks and shrubs. It camouflages those hard angles and drop downs. And as I've said numerous times before, I'm using the same materials that I use throughout the house just to tie it in so it all looks the same and one cohesive design. So by using the dark stone walls combined with that white shelving and some of the brown panel wall type pieces, I think it all ties in and looks better as a whole. issues I ran into, and I wanted the driveway to look nice, and that's why I'm using these sanctuary road pieces, mainly because of the slope that it has, and of course it's nice looking concrete, so I wanted to use that for the driveway. However, the issue that I have is, I was building the house up above and came down and started building the garage very close to the ground. So by doing that, it's great because I can blend it into the terrain that is already there. But in this case, what happened to me is I wanted that large driveway, but over towards the left of the driveway, there's that big mound of dirt that I didn't really anticipate as I was building it. So I had to figure out a way to cover that up without shrinking the driveway or chopping it off or something like that. So I tried to cover it up with some of the driveway pieces here, and that wasn't really working the way I wanted. So I had to angle one of them to get a little bit more of a slope, and then I just compromised and said, well, maybe that's a little bit of dirt that fell down from that rockery there. So that's not exactly how I'd like it. I'd like a clean driveway, but I think in this instance it's fine, and that's just the way it works, when I'm building forward and not really planning too much ahead. Had I planned ahead a little more, maybe I would have made the garage a little higher, or maybe the whole property a little higher, and I wouldn't have run into that problem. But I wasn't really planning on making this garage in the first place, so I just had to deal with it. Originally, I wanted to put in some kind of large gate, but there weren't really any gates that worked for what I wanted to do. So I wound up just leaving it open and kind of constructing some pieces to make it look as though there is a sliding gate there that opens and closes, but it is open at the moment. So that was my solution to not finding the kind of door I was looking for. another feature I wanted to do, especially having access to these waterfall pieces from the custom vanilla assets mod, is I wanted to do some kind of water feature down by this second garage, and I thought this would be a good spot. Just have it come out from under that large pillar piece that holds up the other side of the yard. Once again, these waterfall pieces are kind of hard to place because it's very deceiving where they are in relation to the other one. So when you're doing this, especially if you're using the Quappa tool on a PS4, rather than detaching your pole, maybe go down to the exit option and you can check out the angle of it and then come back and activate your pole again and make some last minute adjustments, because it's really difficult to line these up because it really tricks your eye, and I just find that's a little easier to do it that way. I added in some kind of bottom pool area, to catch the water and, just make it look like a fancy architectural idea, having that giant water feature in your lower driveway area. Now the driveway leading out, I wanted nice and clean, and I wanted to give it, a nice finished fancy look to it. So obviously using the sanctuary driveway pieces to go up the incline there and also keep the driveway clean looking. And then I also added in some grass and spaced the blocks out, to give it that more upscale driveway design with the concrete patches separated with little strips of grass. I think it looks pretty cool, and it breaks it up from something that would be pretty mundane and simple. I added in some of the colored blue lights behind the water, just maybe at night it will light it up and definitely make it look pretty cool that way. I use these ceiling type shelf pieces from the neon apartment from the Creation Club to use as blue neon lights up in the ceiling just as you enter the garage, which I thought looked kind of cool, and the whole blue light thing carries on with the blue lights that I put in the water feature too. And I wasn't sure what I was going to put in the garage, which cars, but I figured I'd put the fancier sports car in there. But I also thought it'd be cool to have maybe a project car in there where, maybe the owner of this house was also working on building a hot rod in the garage. And after I did decide to extend this little area here for the tool area or whatever, I did look out that the water that I had placed earlier for the landscaping up above did not cut into the garage, because you know that water goes all the way basically to the ground. So just at the edge of this little room here, if you go a little further, you'll basically be underwater. So luckily I had this extra space here to add this, because I wasn't really originally planning on extending the garage out like this, but that's kind of the way I like to build is, you know, once I start constructing the larger houses like this, I try and use every square inch that I can. So sometimes you find these little holes or spaces underneath or down below something that offers you a little bit more room to maybe design a room or add something in, or, you know, maybe even make a secret room. But in this case, it worked perfect. With the idea of having like a project car, I thought I needed a little more space to have maybe tools or even a place just to hang out. And that's why I cleared this area here to build more of a hangout tool area, maybe to put a couch just for a little extra space. And it would look really cool in the garage and make it look a little fancier. After I decided to add in this little tool area or hangout area, I have seen other garages that are very nice, and some of them look really nice. So considering the rest of this house is, you know, pretty nice, so I figured this area of the garage would be as well. So that's why I wanted to build it very clean rather than a dirty, cluttered garage that you might think of when you think of a garage. This one I wanted to have more of a clean, custom built where, this person's maybe very organized. One thing I did want to do, even though it was a clean, organized garage, is I did want to have some garage clutter. I didn't want to go overboard just because I knew, I didn't want to load up this build too much and run into the frame dropping and possibly crashes, because there's other things I wanted to do. I did add in some stuff where I could. Now, it's weird and maybe this is just a PlayStation thing, but there's a lot of objects, clutter objects that I try and place, and I'm not able to place them on the shelf or table or even floor sometimes that I want to, so I have to quappa post each one of these things in, which is a real pain, especially with the really little ones. So I don't always get to clutter it as much as I would like to, but I think I was able to get just enough to kind of give that idea of a working garage with some junk in it, but still a little bit organized. Since there's a bunch of tools and things like that in a hangout area, it'd be a perfect place to put, say, your power armor and a little power armor workstation there for you. Grab this old car piece, which is basically the frame and just the wheels, and then start finding objects to put in as though it was maybe a wasteland build. And there's some engine pieces, and then it was just fun to try and create a car out of objects that I could find in my various mod section of building objects and material. Very scrappy rat rod looking car, but that's kind of what I was going for. I grabbed these little short metal half-wall pieces and started setting these down into the ground just to give the idea that maybe there was a closing door of some kind, and this was maybe the sliding track, just to give you an idea that this is where the door closes and some kind of track or weathering piece. And then by adding and building this little section here off to the side, it also gives the illusion that maybe there is a sliding door that comes out, but at this moment it is open. Once I had finished this whole garage area, I realized a lot of times, if I'm in the garage working on something, it's always nice to have a bathroom nearby rather than having to go all the way, especially in this house with it being so large. It'd be nice to have a bathroom down here in the garage. So I had some space outside through this one wall and decided to put in a little tiny bathroom. With the whole work area idea, I thought it might be kind of cool just to have a Nuka-Cola theme to the bathroom, and that's why I decided to do the checkered floor and a lot of the red and of course some of the Nuka-Cola artwork. So I think adding the bathroom in here at the end was a good addition, and it really finishes off this whole garage and really makes it a nice place to even hang out down in your garage, and more space for your cars. And it ties into the rest of the build and ties into the landscaping up above, and also with the staircase going up, leads back into the house or out of the house down into the garage. And as I said before, we have that doorway going down into the lower area of the house, and we will jump into those areas in future episodes because there is a storage room there, there's a lab and garden type area that is also down there, so we'll jump into those. But for now, this is what I did and how I went about building and constructing this lower garage area. So this is basically how I built and constructed this whole lower garage area. So we'll call this issue complete, and once again we will add this to our shelf. Next episode, not sure what we're going to jump into, whether it'll be maybe the storage room down here. Might be a good idea just to jump into that, or who knows, maybe the upstairs living room area. Still haven't done that, or the arcade, or even the garden area and back. We'll figure that out next episode, but as far as this one goes, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching and checking it out, and until next time, keep building.